Can you get anything from seeing those fingerprints?
Um, and they never found out who he was, right? To
Well,
this day.
you're going to have to give us a little more information there because we've not mentioned a gender. We've not mentioned anything that's happened. So what are you getting?
Oh, okay. I'm getting a male. I'm really bad at age, but let's say anywhere from 27 to 45.
Okay.
And that weird because I don't see him being shot or anything like that.
Welcome to Seeing Dead People, the mystery storytelling podcast with a clairvoyant twist. Radio Sydney presents Episode 10, The Somerton Beach Mystery. So hey, Darcy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm really terrific, and I'm looking forward to today's discussion. It's going to be quite different today. I want to ask you, Darcy, how do you think your psychic skills are going to work down under?
Well, the really good part is I have been down under, so at least I know the general concept of what you mean.
We have another unsolved mystery today, and our crime scene is in Australia, in a small suburb just outside of Adelaide. So I'm going to make it pretty difficult for you today, as usual, Darcy. I'm going to initially hold back the specifics of today's mystery. I really want to see what you might divine from the information on the first few photographs I give you before the big reveal. What do you think of that?
Well, we'll see if my ability is working for me today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite the test. You're always game, which is great. Okay, then let me sketch out the situation. Today we're going to investigate one of the most baffling unsolved puzzles in Australian history. Thousands upon thousands of hours of investigation has gone into solving this very strange case, but so far it remains unresolved. Any inner tinglings at the moment, Darcy?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm not surprised. Okay, I'll give you a few clues as to the key time and location for today's enigma. The date is December 1st, 1948. So, oddly enough for us in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the beginning of summer on the bottom half of the world. We're on the outskirts of Adelaide, which is the capital city of the state of Southern Australia. So, if you can imagine a map of Australia, Darcy, we're focusing on a spot along the southern border, but about 3/4 of the way to the east. So, kind of like the Louisiana in the US. So, we're really, really down under. Imagine you're standing on an expansive sandy beach, lined by a massive retaining seawall of huge rocks, and as you look up from the beach towards the land, you see a stairway, and above it a large brick building with a nifty turret. You are now standing on Somerton Beach Park. Something shocking and perplexing happened here over 7 decades ago. I'm hoping, Darcy, as we talk and review the photographs, you can make connections. So,
Okay.
so please, Darcy, have a look at our first photograph. It's a black and white set of fingerprints taken by police. I really can't imagine what you might get insight from a bunch of whirls on paper, Darcy, but hey ho, give it a shot. Can you get anything from seeing those fingerprints?
Um, and they never found out who he was, right? To
Well,
this day.
you're going to have to give us a little more information there because we've not mentioned a gender. We've not mentioned anything that's happened. So what are you getting?
Oh, okay. I'm getting a male. I'm really bad at age, but let's say anywhere from 27 to 45.
Okay.
And that weird because I don't see him being shot or anything like that.
Okay. Now I'm going to let you look at photograph number 2, which is a cropped shot, and it's a bit hard to imagine, so I'll just give you, it's not obvious what you're seeing, but I'll let you know. It's a black and white pic of several men looking down at the contents of a suitcase. Can you gather anything from that?
Okay, my first impression is traveling salesman.
Okay.
That he was selling something, but the other portion is I also felt like he was meeting someone.
Meetings.
Not maybe for sale, but meeting, like, say, meeting a lady.
Oh, okay. All right. So not part of his job.
Well, he was there for his job, but I think on top of it, he was there for some other reason.
Okay. Great. Anything else you can say about him?
He should be, I don't know, clean-shaven, light hair, light eyes, by the looks of it. And that's just going by the checkered coat there. Or at least I think that's a checkered coat.
Yeah, it's a checkered jacket. But what do you mean by going by that? I see a checkered jacket. I don't see light hair, eyes, or anything.
Because of, I don't know, it's the color.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let me fill you in a little bit more. This brown suitcase was found in a local railway station. It had been checked in on November 30th, 1948, but revealed no owner's name. Most of the contents were typical, jacket, like we see, shirts, underwear, shoes, shaving kit, but oddly enough, no spare socks. So, could you look at photo number 3? We're going to move inside the suitcase and look at some very specific objects. Can you tell us about the objects and any reactions you might have?
Okay. Some form of a tie, a knife, scissors, and they're taped, interesting enough.
Yep.
They're taped to keep the sharp points. I don't know if that's a pen or something, or hair, for nose hair.
Yeah, it might be a brush of some sort is what I'm thinking.
But I don't know what the one thing is, the barbors.
We'll talk about that.
I have no idea what that is, but it feels like it's to tie something.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Can you get a sense of the guy from that?
Still, not Canadian. I'm Canadian. Definitely traveling somewhere. I don't think he was a barber. But, I could be wrong. He could have been selling barber equipment. Huh.
Okay. Well, as you noted, most of the objects in the suitcase were pretty typical, but seeing, scissors wrapped in tape, a knife was just sort of cut down, I think, wrapped in tape. And then you'll see that thing called barbers, I think it is. It's a bunch of thread wrapped around, so it's a thread holder. And it was determined later that this thread wasn't available in Australia, and it became vital to our unsolved case.
So, was he American, or was he... My first instinct was he was either British, like Irish, Scottish, that way. But then the other place in my head was South Africa.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I think it's time to reveal our central character and our central question. So I'm going to ask you to look at number 4 and, well, we're getting close to it. It's a shot of the beach.
Okay. Where it was located.
And I'm going to ask you, it's got the sand, it's got the stairwell, it's got the old building with the nifty turret, and it has something else in the bottom left-hand quadrant. What do you see?
Well, there's the X that marks the spot. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. So why would the X be there, Darcy?
Well, that's probably where they found it.
So you're saying somebody was found?
Yeah, because there's not just the X, but there's an essence of someone being there.
Is there?
Yeah.
And at the very top, you said something about an unknown man.
Yes, and I would say that's probably where he was found.
Okay. Well, here's the documented skinny on it. At 6:30 a.m. on the first day of December, 1948, a white man was found dead on Somerton Beach by a couple of beachcombers. The man was lying on his back in the sand, propped up by those rocks, the retaining wall rocks. So now have a look at photo number 5, Darcy. It's the cover of a paperback about this mystery. It's called The Unknown Man, written by G.M. Feltus. Its cover features a stylized image of a man dressed mostly in brown, lying on a beach, head and shoulders propped up against rocks. That man is dead, and represents our central mystery today. As you can see, have you got any comments? Because you immediately have already said that he was clean shaven and that he was fair skinned. Any sense of him before I give you a little more information?
Well, I still want to say British, whether that's South African British or whether it's British, and when I do British, I'm doing all of it.
Okay.
Okay. If we look at that picture and he's sort of got reddish hair, I'd still go with Scottish, but, you know.
Okay. Well, as you can see by the cover, yes, he was clean shaven. He's wearing a white shirt, a red, white, and blue tie. It's a bit harder to see from that image. Tan brown pants, brown socks, brown shoes, brown pullover, and a gray and brown double-breasted jacket. It was later determined that that jacket was of American tailoring. All the clothing that he was wearing had no labels whatsoever. There was no hat. He had no wallet, no identifying information whatsoever. So this is our unknown man on Somerton Beach. Now, this cover is an artistic representation of the guy. So now I'd like you to look at the real thing in photos 6 and 7, but I'm giving you fair warning, although for someone in your position, you may not need it. But these two images are disturbing because they are the actual close-up photographs taken of the dead man, now known as the Somerton Beach man, though these photos were not taken while he was in situ on the beach.
No, it looks like they were taken in the morgue or something.
Right. So, now that you can see his face in two photographs, Darcy, can you tell us anything more about the Somerton Beach man? Because his identity is unknown today.
Okay, well, first and foremost, and I've heard it since we started, and I was waiting to see if it would show up again, is I'm pretty sure his first name is Jimmy.
Jimmy?
And James.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for a last name. I'm not picking it up because I think most people just called him Jimmy. I would probably say there's a good chance, leaning a little more now looking at him, I would say American, but I still hear there's a British connection somehow.
Okay.
I just don't know how to place it. But I don't think he went there to die. So, and it's weird because I would have told you that he had a heart attack.
Okay, so that's how you say you think he died.
Well, there's a congestion in his lungs, but I'm not picking up. I don't hear the word murdered. Okay. But I definitely feel there's more to this than meets the eye.
Right. Well, remember when we were talking about Arthur Lucas and the Don jail and in the courtroom in Toronto, you had said that you actually sort of had a conversation with him where he was telling you about his last moments and the fact that he'd been hanged. Are you actually getting any sort of sense of a conversation with this unknown man?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't... One, why I think his name's Jimmy.
Okay.
Okay, is because he keeps calling himself that. And two, okay, I do feel like there's some sort of foul play, but I also feel that it wasn't with the intent of him dying.
Okay. And are you finding it any more difficult or easy to get impressions from these photographs because this man is dead?
No, he's actually, sounds really crazy, but it feels as though he's relaxed with the idea that he's dead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he's not fighting it. So, and like I said, when I look at it, there's a part of me that feels there's a connection to another person. Okay, no doubt someone by the name of Don, Donnie, Donald, and him. But I do not think he went there with the intent of dying.
Okay, that's fascinating. But what I want to explore a little bit more, just from my perspective, is all the photos in the past that I've shown you have been taken when the people were alive. This is a photograph of an individual, or two photographs taken when he was dead. So I want to know from your perspective, when you look at a photograph of someone who's alive and someone who's dead, does it make a difference to you?
No. The only difference is he actually stands out more like he's alive than he does dead.
You're getting that sort of 3D thing happening?
Yes, thank you. That's exactly. When someone has died and it's a photo of them dead, whether it's a photo of them alive or dead, they'll stand out different than everyone else in a photo.
Because they're dead.
Yes.
Okay. This guy, how does he fare?
Well, whatever it was he went to do, he finished it. Okay? It's like this brought him round trip.
Huh. Okay.
So whatever it is, he went there to do something. And whatever it was, whether that was to make amends, to rid the world of someone he felt shouldn't be there, I feel that whatever he did, and he must have left a message of some sort, that this was the finish, the end for him.
Okay, that's really interesting the way you say that, because it's going to come up in the next little while. I can give you a little more information about him. A search of his body revealed an unused rail ticket, a bus ticket, a comb manufactured in the United States, a half-empty pack of juicy fruit chewing gum, cigarettes, and matches. Now remember, Darcy, we're talking 1948. So we're just after the Second World War, a time when products from other countries didn't arrive in Amazon boxes in a couple of days. The comb, the gum, and the jacket suggests someone of American origin or someone with ties to the States, especially, and in addition, of course, he had the red, white, and blue tie itself. So he had some affinity somehow with the U.S. As you said, there was no visible means of death. There's no blood, no cuts, no real signs of pain on his face that I can see and that they witnessed. There was no struggle apparent in the sand. No one knew who he was, where he died, how he died. There's no relevant outstanding missing persons report at the time. So he's a complete unknown entity. So when we talked about the suitcase and we looked at photos 2 and 3, we talked about the thread. And that thread, I mentioned, was the same thread that was used to repair the lining in this man's pants and collar. And as if you recall, I said that thread wasn't available in Australia. So that suitcase with that distinctive thread linked that suitcase to our guy, the Somerton man. So now I'd like you to look at photo number 8, which is a shot of his burial. I'll tell you a little bit about the postmortem and the autopsy as you have a look, and you can tell us a little bit about the photo after. So the autopsy revealed they think he died around 2 a.m. on December 1st. They gave his age between 40 and 45. He was in excellent physical condition, except he was a heavy smoker, about 5'11". As you said, gray eyes, light-colored hair, fair to ginger hair with a slight graying temples. His hands had no sign of manual labor, and he had a very interesting bit of muscularity. He was muscularly built, but he had pronounced calf muscles, suggesting someone like a ballet dancer. His last meal was a meat and potato pasty, eaten about 3 to 4 hours before he died. No poison, no foreign substance found in his system, no vomit found at the scene, but his brain was damaged, his kidneys were congested, his liver had excessive blood, and his spleen was enlarged by 3. The pathologist ruled poison, something like a barbiturate, but not to be found in the body at the time, and in the end, they ruled the death a suicide. One other interesting factor was that his shoes were squeaky clean, so they weren't those of someone wandering around the beach or wandering around the town. So after getting this bit of information and looking at that last photo number 8, Darcy, what do you see and hear?
Well, I honestly don't think he killed himself, contrary to what they may have labeled it. He was either a dancer or a runner. And I feel like he came there because, like I said, he was meeting someone. And I don't know if he was meeting someone who he'd been in love with, because it does feel female. It doesn't feel like a guy.
Okay.
All right. And I'm not 100% sure he got his business done.
Sorry, say that again?
I'm not 100% sure he actually got to see the person.
That he was meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like that ill-gotten affair sort of idea.
Yep.
And instead of her, it may have been the husband.
You think possibly the husband showed up instead?
Yeah.
Okay, but we have no visible signs of struggle, no visible signs of attack or of death.
Back then, things were done very genteelly. Like, it would either go into the parlor and have a really good fist fight, or you had a cup of tea if you were British or connected to British, and discussed it.
Okay. I'm going to bring you back to your comment you thought he was either a runner or a dancer. Now, I mentioned dancer, so where are you getting it?
Well, when you said it's well-defined, his muscular and everything, he at that time, I mean, he could have been a boxer, but I'm not feeling that kind of physical exertion from him as I would if it was someone who ran a long distance or had to endure intense movements. So he just doesn't feel like a boxer. So it only leaves me two choices.
Okay, and a dancer's pretty unusual.
Well, for a guy, but, you know, if he was used to traveling, no, I'd stick with either a dancer or a runner.
Okay, and do you get anything from the photograph number 8 of his coffin?
It looked a little short.
It must be the sort of shortened view of the image, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm not picking anything up.
Okay, no problem. Okay, now, of course, because this is seeing dead people and nothing is as straightforward as you think, this unsolved mystery goes deeper because there's a fascinating element yet to be revealed, and you kind of hinted at it earlier. Days after the man was discovered, a piece of rolled up paper was found sewn inside his pants. On it were printed the words, Taman should. Now that is TAMANSHUD. Not English, obviously. Eventually discovered that the words Taman should are Persian, and they mean the end or finished. And you had hinted at that earlier. It's taken from the last page of a famous book of poems called the Rubaiyat, and which was written by an 11th century Persian poet called Omar Khayyam. The book's theme was live life to the fullest and have no regrets at the end. So many thought at the time that this clue was a suicide note. But I find that pretty tenuous, given that it was hidden and it's so cryptic. The origin of the little scrap of paper is murky, but it had been reported that sometime later, an unknown individual handed in a book he said he found in his car. It was a 1941 version of the Rubaiyat with the last page torn, and that last page fitted perfectly the missing scrap of paper, which you will find if you look at photograph number 9, and then a number 10 is a cover image of the Rubaiyat of 1941. Have a look at those.
Okay. I don't agree with them that this wasn't suicide. The very fact, my impression is that was the same as packing around a Chinese fortune cookie piece of paper, you know, that says amazing things are going to happen.
Yep.
That's why it was sewn in. It wasn't sewn in because I don't think we'd hide the suicide note.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It seems to me if you want it to be a suicide note, you wouldn't make it so that people don't find it.
Yeah.
Okay, the idea of the book or of the connection to the book of poetry and the theme of living life to the fullest and having no regrets at the end, does that spring any thoughts for you?
Yeah, it makes me feel that he did just that. Like there's no two ways about it. For him, the ideology about living life to the fullest, but because he's back here, it made me think there's something he regretted, and he was trying to, put a name to it.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Like if I knew I had a child with someone but never claimed it.
Oh, I see. And do you think that's the case?
I think so.
You think our unknown man had a child with a woman, and that child he never acknowledged or was able to acknowledge was his own?
That's right.
Okay. Well, we'll keep on going here. The back page of that found Rubaiyat book of poems also had faint indentations, and they were eventually revealed to be 5 lines of alphabet text, all in capitals, so it's getting a little stranger. This was considered a code at the time, and though it's been examined by many a snap code cracker, it's never revealed its secrets. So Darcy, have a peek at photo number 11, which shows this bit of this lettering. The press and then the public immediately assumed that the Somerton man was a spy. So if so, for whom? Nobody ever found out. Can you decipher anything, Darcy?
Well, just hold on a minute. Okay, would you say the first letter is an M or a W?
Good question, Darcy. That's still in discussion today, but I believe it is considered a W.
Okay.
Because if you look below it, there's an M. That's what I believe. And if you look below that, I think is another W. And below that is another M. So they're a bit different.
What? 1, 2. 1, 2, 1. Wow. There had been another digit. Oh, wait a minute. Did I start with M? Okay, if you base it on, yeah, it could be an M, a W, or I'm thinking it's a phone number or coordinates.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, as I say, it's been looked at seriously and no one's ever cracked it. Another interesting little element, a phone number was found in the book, and it quickly led to a woman named Jo Thompson. And she just happened to live about 500 yards from where our body was found. She denied knowing the man or why he had her phone number, but she did admit that a neighbor told her a man, still unidentified, attempted to visit her in 1948. And yes, coincidentally, she had previously owned a copy of the Rubaiyat. At the time, the police agreed to keep her name secret, which unfortunately hampered their investigation. Very telling, though, was Jo Thompson's reaction to a plaster head bust of the Somerton man. Check out photo 12. The bust is a bit spooky, which may be why, upon seeing it, Mrs. Thompson appeared shocked, taken aback, and then nearly fainted. From that moment on, she refused to respond to any more questions.
Well, obviously she knew who the person was.
Now, are you saying that because I've said it fairly clearly, or are you saying that because you're getting a sense? Or both?
I'm getting a sense that she knew who the person was.
Okay. Well, an investigator, more than one, believed Thompson was evasive and that she did know the dead man's identification. And in fact, years later, her daughter admitted she believed her mom knew the Somerton man. So do you have any more thoughts about her and her possible relationship to Somerton and that cryptid Taman Should clue?
Well, now I'm going to be looking at that clue and seeing if I can decipher it. I believe she had his child. She could have been his sister, but That's not what I'm feeling.
Okay.
Okay. He was looking for someone, and I think she was it.
And when you feel a sense of a relationship there, and then therefore a sense of a child, can you give us an idea of the gender of the child?
I would have said probably a boy.
Okay.
Okay. That it was a boy.
All
Who
right.
probably followed in his father's footsteps.
In what regard?
Well, if his dad was a dancer or a runner, he would have followed in his footsteps.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, as I mentioned at the top, this is an ongoing, still unresolved mystery, and Australian authorities have never given up. So have a look at our very last photo, lucky number 13, which says, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach, 1st of December, 1948. It's the tombstone for the Somerton man. And I'm going to tell you a last little bit about some other recent investigations. In 94, an Australian Chief Justice and Chair of the Victoria Institute of Forensic Medicine reviewed the case to determine the cause of death and concluded that there seems little doubt it was digitalis, which is from foxglove, consistent with the man's engorged organs, and no evidence of natural disease. But of course there's no proof, and thus no ending. Many experts looked into the spy issue, but nothing came of it. A detailed linguistic analysis conducted in 2014 suggests that the letter code could be a shorthand, not a code, possibly just the first letters of the words in the sentence. That was what they thought possibly could be. One way or another, it retains its mystery. And over the years, there have been possible identifications for the Somerton man, but each one has failed upon scrutiny. So lastly, a University of Adelaide professor had DNA tests conducted using some of the few remaining strands of the dead man's hair which had stuck to the bust that was made. However, before that, not much DNA analysis was done because the body had been so badly damaged by formaldehyde used for embalming. These few hairs provided some mitochondrial DNA, and that's from his mother's side. They have yet to provide anything key, but they may yet provide a family connection. Lastly, and this is where you come in again, some think the Somerton man had a secret male child with Joe Thompson called, can you guess at a name?
A male?
Yep.
Oh. Jim? James? I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Robin. Robin Thompson actually shares some of the Somerton man's physical traits, including distinctive ears and a love of dance. But he hasn't officially been acknowledged as being related to this still unknown man who was found on the Somerton Beach on December 1st in 1948. So, any other bits to offer, Darcy? Because that's pretty well the end of our story of our guy whom you think is called Jimmy.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think I have anything else to offer, but I would definitely say that if Robin, I'm surprised they can't do DNA on Robin, or have done, just to compare, because if he is his father, there would be a familiar match.
I think the problem is the DNA is too badly damaged to really have any straight use.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Too bad. Well, I think you've given us some really interesting suggestions, Darcy, that his name might have been Jimmy, that he might have been of British origin, even though there seems to be some hint of Americanism about him, but that doesn't necessarily mean he came from America. You also said he was at the beach to meet someone, not necessarily directly related to his work. You thought that meeting was possibly of a romantic inclination. You also suggested that he had a child whom he had never acknowledged with a gal in the area, and so we certainly have a hint that that man could have had a child named Robin, and he had never acknowledged it. So I think you've hit quite a few little nails on the head today.
Well, I wonder if there's a very good chance that he didn't know he had a child until he went back.
Well, that's for you to tell me, because I couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, that's my impression.
Okay.
He might not have known he had a child until he went back.
Could very well be. And I have to say, the fact that he was found 500 yards from her home seems a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
He was either heading to see her, she was heading to see him. Who knows? But the proximity is there.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Definitely there.
definitely there. Okay, well, thanks for our. That was a good attempt to crack a decades-old Aussie mystery. I think we got some interesting little bits to offer. Appreciate finding out about your abilities down under and hearing a little bit more about the Australian man who's unfortunately still unidentified.
Okay, you have a great day.
You too. We'll talk again.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Cool news! Seeing Dead People is now a podcast on YouTube. Just search for Nicola Furlong Mysteries, and you will find 3 podcasts of videos dedicated to seeing dead people. One for our actual complete episodes, another for Darcy's fascinating answers to our listeners' questions about her psychic process, and a third with teasers highlighting each episode. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Seeing Dead People. Whatever's going on in Darcy's head, I think is so cool and astonishing. We'd love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. So please, shoot us an email to info@radiosydney.ca with Seeing Dead People in the subject line. New episodes of Seeing Dead People will emerge on the first Saturday of every month and will also be available every Saturday night at 8 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10 a.m., both Pacific Standard Time. Seeing Dead People will also be available as a downloadable podcast online at radiosydney.ca for your convenience. Thanks so much for listening to Seeing Dead People. I really dig researching, writing, and communicating with Darcy and her otherworldly contacts. So until the next time, remember, Seeing Dead People is a blast, with goosebumps guaranteed.
This has been a program of Radio Sydney.